Okay. So congratulations on your job transfer.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure that's a relief.
It is a great relief. One less thing to be worrying about.
Definitely.
And welcome, is it Criselio? And goodbye, Criselio. Well, public hangouts, you get people just dropping in to see what's going on.
Yeah. I've been doing the silent writer chat so long, I don't even know how to which way the plugins go on this one.
How do the silent writer chats work?
Well, you just basically don't have the headphones, and you sit there and you write. If you've got questions or comments, you comment back and forth.
So it's mostly done via the chat there?
Yeah, mostly done by the chat, and we use the share screens.
Right, sure.
And we can see what we're working on, and I'm sure different groups do it differently. It's interesting, though. It definitely helps. So I've mostly been working on that. I'm interested in, you were talking about doing the Geiger pictures and everything this time. I'm sure you'll want to wait till everybody gets in.
Sure. Well, I hope a few people. I know a bunch of people look at the gallery. Part of my ulterior motive in doing this was to see if I could boost some page views to the gallery. There's actually a metric on there that measures the popularity of the gallery by the number of page views. So I just kind of wanted to see what exposing one of these galleries to this kind of an audience would do for it, and it definitely had a positive effect. So,
that's good.
But I think it's going to be a good combination of the technologies here as well. At least I hope so.
Yeah. Still learning a lot of the technology. I can't keep up with it very well.
Yes. Well, there is always more to learn than you've got time for. Hi there, Gina. How are you?
Hi, Ron. Good.
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. You've been traveling.
I have. I made a trip out to California, and it was a productive one.
Oh, good. Was it fun, too?
Yes. I got to get out and see some beautiful geology and shoot some gigapans of it. So that was, yes, definitely enjoyable. Josh, welcome. How are you?
Oh, hello. How are you?
Not bad.
First time actually trying this out. It seems kind of interesting. It's kind of, I like it. Nice way to social.
Yeah. It's I've done a bunch of these in the past. I don't know if you've seen any of the recordings I made of them, but we get people just dropping in with questions. And, this time I gave a little topic for everybody to try and look at, so we'll see how that works. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right.
If you got any geology questions or thoughts on your mind, by all means, go ahead.
Geology, which is the study of
the Earth.
The Earth, right? Okay. What do you feel about the Earth right now?
Think of it as a study of rocks, but it's more than just rocks. So.
Okay. So you're a professor, teacher, just
Yeah. I teach geology at the college level.
Awesome.
I got about 10 years plus teaching experience now, so it was the whole idea of the office hours is just kind of an outgrowth of teaching. So.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on earthquakes that have been going on nowadays and how they've been increasing and getting worse?
The biggest way to look at that is they're getting worse in the sense that there's more damage, more economic losses, and also losses of people. But that's in large part because of population growth, and specifically population growth in areas that are already prone to earthquakes. So it's not that the earthquakes are any more frequent. It's really just there are more people in those areas. And also our communications are just frankly a whole lot better. And so, it's much easier to see them and hear about them. I mean, one of the themes that's gone through all these geology office hours hangouts is how amazing it's been for teaching geology that so many people have camera phones these days. And in remote hello, in remote parts of the world too, because you got you got people in the Himalayas that are shooting these mud flows and avalanches and things like that.
Definitely.
And I mean, among the geologic processes, many of these things are really slow processes. Erosion is usually a very slow process.
Yeah.
Not something you can really perceive. You get your volcanic eruptions, your earthquakes, and they're usually in more remote places, and so you don't see them. But nowadays there's just people everywhere, and with recording devices, and so it's been a real boon for teaching. So things like rock slides and mass wasting events are just so much more accessible now.
Definitely. Awesome. What are your thoughts on? I was watching this thing recently on the ancient aliens. Are you interested in any of that?
Oh, I don't buy too much of the alien stuff. So what do you want to know about aliens?
No, actually, I don't want to know anything. I'd like to know what you think as far as archaeological finds, places having to do with geology, rock formations.
So I mean, I this is one of those things where I try and keep it to the hard science, and when one brings up aliens, I'm at a loss to try and address that. I mean,
all right. Well,
if you got a specific example, that I can address, I might be able to address it. But it's just one of those things where it kind of takes it off the rails, and
it really does. I apologize for that, Ron. Well,
no, that's okay.
It's open for discussion then. I mean,
yeah. I mean, science fundamentally is going to investigate any sort of phenomena.
Definitely.
Right, and so applying science to those sorts of things. Now, geology. I'm trying to figure out where the tie-in is with geology, because that's really where the
tie-in there. No.
So, it might be a great topic for an archaeoastronomy discussion.
It could. I should probably start one of those hangouts,
Hey, I actually I went to university.
Who knows? It could take off. But that's
one of my professors there.
We have Gina here. Hello, Gina. Gina's been there quiet, sitting there patiently. Hello, Gina. Where do we hail from? I'm just curiosity.
Philadelphia, PA.
Philadelphia. Okay. Awesome.
I'm in Hayes, Kansas.
Southern tip of Texas. I'm sorry, Ron. Where are you from?
Hayes, Kansas, out on the Great Plains.
Kansas, awesome, Great Plains. I love the country. That'd be like the ideal place for me to ultimately retire to, is an open country. I mean, I'm from the South myself, Texas, but ranch and whatnot. That's good living out there.
I have to say that I'm originally from New Jersey, so the Plains is definitely different. Although I've been out here 7 years now, so I'm very used to it. I think, and I'm going to be moving in another couple months, but. I think the thing that I will miss is the great thunderstorms that you get. We're right kind of on the west edge of the tornado belt, so we certainly have to worry about that a little bit. But by and large, just a good thunderstorm is a fun thing to experience.
Definitely.
So it looks like we're really filling up today.
We are. Well, anybody else questions?
If you got any questions on geology, or you want to discuss the gigapans that I put up, we can do that too. So.
I want to discuss the exploding ducks.
The exploding ducks. Yes, that is a spectacular example. I don't know how many of you saw this video yet. I put it up in my previous post announcing this hangout. But Matt Kukta, who teaches in West Central Wisconsin now, and I forget exactly his school, but he teaches in a kind of physics department, but he's doing, I guess he's teaching kind of the soil and the thing, whole science. And he's taken one of the classic experiments that not too many geologists actually get a chance to do. But this is a liquid nitrogen volcano, where you take liquid nitrogen, you pour it into a soda bottle, normal 2-liter plastic soda bottle, In this case, he had them nicely duct taped so it actually improved the strength of them. You weight it down with a brick, and you drop it into a plastic garbage can for water. And in this case, he had this great example where he put a whole bunch of floating rubber duckies on top. And what happens is the liquid nitrogen will heat up as it comes in contact with the water. Nitrogen, of course, is a gas at room temperature. And so as it goes from the liquid state to the gassy state, it expands violently. And what happens is the soda bottle, your normal soda bottle, because you're sold those soda bottles under pressure. The pressure of the carbon dioxide dissolvent is relatively small, but those soda bottles can take, I forget what the total is, but it's actually quite a few atmospheres worth of pressure. So the pressure actually builds up in there as that liquid nitrogen is going to gaseous nitrogen, and it finally reaches the bursting point where it bursts the soda bottle. And, of course, then the rest of it flashes to gas as well, and you get this eruption column, in this case, that sent the ducks flying.
That was cool. And the trash can lifted off, too.
Yes, which is another great bit of physics. So, as far as the reason for doing an experiment like this, and the way that it relates to geology really is that not exactly that process, but a very similar process that actually drives volcanic eruptions. Really, your volcanic eruptions are driven not by some sort of chemical reaction that causes an explosion, like you might think of with a big fiery explosion, but usually the volcanic eruptions are caused when you got magma under pressure deep underground, that as it rises to the surface is experiencing less and less pressure, and it gets to a point where the structure of the magma will, depending on the type of magma, can build up quite a bit of pressure. If you got like a Hawaiian volcano, like the Hawaii volcanoes, for example, that's a basaltic composition of lava, mafic composition of lava. You get these fire fountains, which are dramatic, but not nearly as explosive and generally not as dangerous, because basically the gas is able to escape from the lava fairly easily. The lava is very low viscosity, relatively low viscosity. It flows something like ketchup, and though you can build up a little bit of pressure in ketchup, you can't build up a huge pressure in ketchup. When you get to a volcano like, a Mount St. Helens or Crater Lake, when that erupted 7,000 years ago, you get a much stickier magma, and it builds up a lot more gas, and it builds up the pressure to much higher pressures. And then when it pops, of course, it pops much more violently and explosively. And so that's essentially what's happening in the throats of some volcanoes. You've got this gas coming out of solution, very much like in a soda bottle. So that's not exactly like liquid nitrogen, but that's just like you're opening a soda bottle. Yeah. But then the explosive release is like what you're getting in the liquid nitrogen situation. So it's a great analog. And then what you see in the video is the column that goes straight upward.
Right.
And that's because you've got essentially the walls of the garbage can are acting like the conduit that the magma would be coming up in a volcano, the neck of the volcano.
Mm-hmm.
And as it blasts, it's got one unconstrained surface, that's upwards. And so the mass is directed primarily upwards. And that's our classic Plinian eruption. Plinian eruptions are named after Pliny the Elder and Pliny the Younger, Pliny the Younger first described it. Pliny the Elder was over there trying to save other Romans from Pompeii and Herculaneum. But this is the Vesuvius 77 AD eruption where it gets its name. And it's this classic mushroom-shaped sort of cloud, which is the main column, and then usually the kind of capping mushroom thing at the top. And you can see that in the video because the top of the water is kind of expanding outwards, as it's going up, and then you got the column directed behind it going straight up. And then the video, right at the end of the video, he's got a great spot where you can actually see it collapsing down upon itself.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really just a great analog for a pyroclastic flow. And when you think about what actually killed the people in Herculaneum and Pompeii, it was the pyroclastic flows that came out later on, that came down the slopes of the mountain and carried the hot material out into the communities and eventually buried and asphyxiated people.
Right.
So anyway, it's a spectacular thing with just rubber duckies flying everywhere, and that is just wonderful for what it is. But it also turns out to be really good for illustrating what's going on in a volcano.
Well, you can really see the mushroom effect too. You can see the ducks going out in the umbrella light, and the balloons too.
Yes, yeah, that was spectacular. I've described that to a lot of people. I've never actually done that myself. I've never really been in a place where I've had the urgency to get that out and try one of those.
It's a little hazardous.
I think in my next teaching assignment, if I can find some liquid nitrogen left over, that's going to have to be a priority.
So which college will you be teaching at?
Bakersfield College. It's community college in the California college system. State of California system, Bakersfield, California. It is just a spectacular location as far as there's great geology in every direction.
And you won't be far from where the Mythbusters are. You could work with one of them with one of their liquid nitrogen.
Yes, that would be, yes. Any source of liquid nitrogen will do. Yeah.
You need to pair up with them and give them some experiments.
That would be nice. Yeah. No, this one I can't claim any credit for this other than having learned about it from other people. I wonder if I've actually seen it done. I don't think I've ever seen it done in person. I've heard it described on a number of occasions. I've actually seen a teaching kind of write-up of how to do it, but I've never actually done it myself. One of these days, though. Got to be done, and especially after I've seen the rubber ducky video. That's just it's just begging for imitation.
Right, and it looks just so darn fun too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and it could be a great recruiting tool if you don't kill the students while you're doing it. Of course, I've got to figure out where to buy rubber duckies in bulk like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess find a shipping container out in the Pacific that's been washed off of a ship and full of rubber duckies. And
There you go. Find a carnival, ask them. I'm sure they know the cheap spot.
Yes.
Oh, I saw one today. First study linking geothermal gas to asthma.
That's an interesting one. I didn't see the study. What it brings to mind immediately is VOG in Hawaii. Have you ever heard of VOG?
Not sure.
So it's volcanic smog. Basically, if you're downwind of some of the Hawaiian volcanoes, unfortunately, most times of the year there's not much downwind. But if you ever go to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Kilauea Volcano, the wind pattern is dominantly from east to west there. And that also means that the east side of those islands, the Hilo side of the big island of Hawaii, it gets a lot more rainfall because you got the rain, the air mass rising up over the volcano there, you got orographic cooling, and it rains and that. And then down the opposite side, it's really almost desert. It's sunny all the time. That's where all the resorts are on the leeward side of the island. But there's a secondary effect at the volcano summit where you go from lush jungle on the east side of the summit to dry desert on the other side, but it's not just the rainfall effect, it's also the acid precipitation. because of the gases that are being emitted from the summit of Kilauea, you've got lots of sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and that's causing acidic rainfall downwind from the summit. So you are still getting some rainfall, but it's actually doing more to kill plants than it is to keep them alive.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do get the air reversing direction or getting blown over population centers, I know there's big asthma concerns. Asthma is one of the things, but it's can actually etch paint and stuff like that too. It's fairly nasty stuff.
Yeah.
But certainly breathing concerns are one of the things. In fact, the Hawaii Volcano Observatory, I believe they actually have a page now that talks about what the VOG conditions are on any given day and what they're expected to be in the future days. So that's probably not the same thing that you were referring to in the article, but do you remember where they were talking about in the article that you were reading?
I just closed it, but yeah, it was talking about the different gases and stuff that also come out of there. So it's similar. It would be very similar.
Yeah.
So when you see an article like that, especially one that's linked to on Google+, some are pretty short, concise. They kind of give a thumbnail sketch. Where's the best place to go to find the original study? How do you track down the original study or get more information?
Well, you hope that somebody actually puts that into the story itself. I mean, that would be good journalism, is to actually cite the original source. In a lot of cases, you get people just kind of rewriting press releases.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ways that I am able to track sources on some of those things is that I'm actually subscribed to a website called Eureka Alert.
Okay.
If you Google Eureka Alert, they actually are kind of a clearinghouse for press releases in the sciences. I don't know that that's specifically their primary goal, but that's what I use them for. I'm basically subscribed to the RSS feed of their Earth Science stories, and most of that is coming directly from usually educational institutions, sometimes other scientific institutions, sometimes journals with publications coming out, and it's usually a press release size, usually a couple paragraphs long, kernel of a story that's got basic information. Very often on the Eureka Alert side, they link back to the original either the host institution or the individual researchers themselves. So that would be how I would generally approach that. The other thing would be then Google on just the topical terms and try and trace that back to a source.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of I'm saying is where they're using press releases to get interest.
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there. In fact, the blogosphere is full of that. I made a decision. I mean, when I first started blogging, I did a little bit of that where I would not so much rewrite a press release, but at least comment on news as it was coming out. And I've tried to go away from that because, well, there's lots of other people doing it, for one thing. The other thing is that just rewriting press releases, even if you're doing good scientific journalism and actually tracking down the original source, you don't get very deep into it. You tend to be rehashing the story, and I figure, let the primary source tell their own story. That's my idea of what good science should do. But there's value to the large aggregators too.
Yeah, sometimes they give you an idea of something you didn't know was there.
Right, absolutely. And for that, it's certainly worthwhile. I mean, that's what the science press is good at. I mean, if it's an exciting story, if it's an interesting story, getting it around, that's what they're good for. Explaining things in good detail, you find a lot less sites that do that well. But we could use more of those.
Definitely.
And I would love to have more scientists, coming on things like, office hours sort of show, or even just, hosting their own, and talking about their research when it comes out in print. A lot of scientists just, the nature of the scientific establishment the way it is and academic science the way it functions is that, all the rewards are for the publication, not very much for the outreach and communication with the general public, which is a shame in my view, but that's unfortunately the way it is. So, well, we've scared away everybody else. You guys want to talk about gigapans at all? Did you notice as soon as I went to the scientific explanation, people just started disappearing?
Yeah.
Well, it was a fun curiosity for a while. Once it became science.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one on underwater volcanoes.
Where have we got that?
I got that off of Google Plus from one of the other people who posts a lot. This one's actually got quite a bit of information.
Who's it from? Do you know?
It's from BBC News, Science Environment.
Okay. Oh, I think I've seen this.
Rise and fall of underwater volcano revealed.
Yeah.
Ring of fire.
I glanced at it, and it had a really nice graphic.
Yeah, it does. And,
and of course, I don't get in my own feed right now, but I did see I saw the pretty graphic.
Yeah.
And that was from a couple of oceanic expeditions that were doing profiling of the seafloor and looking at the changes in the bathymetry, seafloor elevation, and I remember vaguely when those missions were going. I think one of them was actually blogging their results in real time. But I have not read the article, so I can't really say too much about it.
It seems like I haven't had as much time to read the articles lately. It's like I catch the headlines, and then if I really want to read it, I stop and read it.
I've definitely fallen into that trap, so I'm...
But yes.
Well, too much information. You gotta triage it and pick the ones that are interesting to you and read them.
Or know where to go back and get them when you do need them later on.
Yeah. And actually, that's where, for an open discussion like this, I try and read a lot of the headlines and, at least be familiar with what the story is about. But if we were to have a real kind of roundtable discussion, I think the way to do that would be to actually plan out and have everybody actually read some articles, so that everybody is familiar with the article thoroughly. And then you could have a much deeper discussion on it. And it would be really nice to have that kind of a scientific discussion out here for public consumption. I would love to see that sort of thing happen, but we'll see how it goes. So Joshua and Faris, welcome to the chat. How are you?
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Any questions on geology that we can answer?
No.
Okay. Well, feel free to just watch along then. But geology is the main topic, so.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is the meaning of life?
42.
42?
Yes, 42. Are you familiar with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yes.
Okay, the book's by Douglas Adams. Well, there you go. Meaning of life, the universe, and everything. 42.
Okay, I will read it.
Beyond that, I'm not going to.
What? Why are you laughing at me?
No, not laughing at you, laughing with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Can I ask what's the meaning of geology?
So geology is the study of the
Earth. Earth, yes.
Yes, but a lot of people think of it as study of rocks and minerals, search for energy resources, mineral resources, but it deals with a lot of other things too, oceanography, search for clean groundwater.
So this is your life. This is I meant your work.
Yeah, I teach geology, so yep, it is.
Your president? I mean, your yes, your
Professor.
principal.
Professor. Yeah, professor of geology.
Professor of geology. Nice to meet you, Professor.
Nice to meet you too. So where are you coming to us from?
I come from my country, my Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Great geology
Yes.
there.
If you want to study, but we don't study.
Oh,
For
okay.
you guys, for the people who study, but for our people, they
Yeah.
don't. So it's not good for them.
On the other hand, I mean, certainly the geology is in large part responsible for the wealth of Saudi Arabia. I mean, the oil deposits, for example, are a big part of that. But more than that, it's not just oil. Saudi Arabia's got some great volcanic provinces along the Red Sea.
Yes. You should visit.
I'd
Make a
love
study
to.
of that.
I would love to.
I can get you the diplomacy entrance.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you can study freely. Nobody can talk.
Interesting. Nice to know.
Welcome anytime you want. Just call me.
All right, fair enough.
So I can be ready to welcome you.
What part of the country are you from?
Dammam, Sharqiya, Al-Sharqiya.
Okay,
The eastern region. The eastern region.
Okay, so in the oil producing region or not?
Mostly, yes, mostly, because we have a company called Aramco, and this
Yes.
company is the one who's usually produce that oil, bring out that oil.
Yep.
That company. Without it, the country's lost.
It certainly would be a very different place. Yes.
Yes, exactly. You should
Well,
visit us.
You know, it's really interesting in these hangouts to have people come in and chat from all different parts of the world, and especially when they can tell me a little bit about the local geology because, I've traveled a little bit. I've traveled a lot in the United States. I've traveled a little bit, in Canada and, very briefly in Mexico, and I've been once to Europe.
Oh,
But
yes.
I've never really had a chance to travel much further than that. So
Yeah, because like America, when you travel from state to state, it's like you're traveling from country to country. I mean, many places, each place different from another.
very,
Like in another world, yeah.
you have a lot of diversity in the U.S. Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. So that's why I want to study there. So
Yep.
when I travel, I don't have to carry a passport.
Well, good luck because it's a great place to study, and I do wish you luck with that.
I want to attend your class once.
Well, you're more than welcome to, but it'll be
Yes.
Bakersfield College in a couple months.
They will choose the college.
It's actually a community college, so I don't know if it's necessarily some place that you'd normally come.
So
over.
it's easier to come. Yeah.
Well, yeah, a little bit, I guess.
Right? And cheaper.
Tends to have a more cheaper, yes, and tends to have usually more local sort of crowd. But anyway,
Great.
so what's your interest? What are you interested in studying?
I'm interested on anything engineering. I don't like biology and that kind of study. I like to study about oil.
I like to study black oil.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Who's joined us there?
Who joined us
Hello, my
there?
friend.
Yeah, that.
I think it's the kid who had his mom's laptop and he's connected to our Hangout.
Yep,
I'm sure
we got
it's
that.
like that.
That's what happens when you make a public hangout like this.
You will faggot.
That's the worst thing. I think he just finished school right now and he's very tired from
Yep.
school. And he's trying to put his energy in something he won't have fun. And,
At least he's learning a little technology.
yeah, exactly.
Who's the
I
fat
owe it to
guy?
him.
Ron.
Can you learn some
I'm the fat
respect
guy.
over here?
Yeah.
Thank you, he left. Yeah, Mr. Professor,
Yeah.
start your lesson. I'm very excited to attend your class. I feel very excited right now.
Well, that's good. I don't have a specific lesson for today, although we were going to talk a little bit about earthquakes and faults.
That's cool.
Gigapan gallery that I shared.
Nice. So,
Joshua, on your mind, you have any questions about geology?
No.
What part of the
no,
world?
but you should.
Well, I got a question, but not about geology.
Okay, well, I'm only really going to be qualified to answer your geology questions, so that's why it's Geology Office Hours Hangout. What part of the world you're from?
Let's.
You don't have to give me a specific location, just generally.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You are in the western,
We've got-
southwestern region. I hope I'm correct.
Or perhaps we have an alien here.
Joshua, you know what is Saudi Arabia? Do you know Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
It's a nice country. We have a lot of people look like you. I thought you were from Saudi Arabia, first of all. You look like a Saudi. Why you don't like Saudis?
I never
They're
seen.
good people. I'm a Saudi, look. Oh, maybe you should visit us. You would like to visit?
Probably in 2030.
30? Oh, I see a lot of like you wish to visit that place. I feel that way. Is that correct? You're very excited about us. It seems.
Joshua, have you got any mountains around you there?
Okay, so so geology is the study of Earth.
Yep.
They use some special equipment to study that. So you're the guys who actually noticed when the Earth has been created.
Mm-hmm.
You're the guys who study
Yeah.
each rock.
I did
Yeah.
for part of my PhD research. I did geochronology, which is actually using minerals to date rocks to figure out the age of the rocks.
Mm. So when you go to the desert, you see those mountains and they are crashed because of the air. That
Yep.
means you can study them, how long they've been created or
Yep.
like firstly invented.
That's exactly the sort of things we do. We try and understand.
Mm.
It's basically like rebuilding a puzzle. We try and figure out what the history of an area is, which rocks are the oldest, which ones are
I
younger,
got a geology
what
question.
the events was, and
Mm.
the plates colliding with each other, and that helps us understand where things like the oil would be deposited, what sort of resources you might find.
I
Yeah,
got a geology question.
Yeah, Joshua. Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, the question is, do you study the geology about poop?
Do you use the vacuum?
Do you study the geology about poop?
I'm worried. about it.
There are geologists who study that, especially paleontologists who look at coprolites. You know what a coprolite is?
Yes.
Okay.
I
It's
don't
not
know.
my
What's
area of
this
study.
about?
The coprolite is dinosaur poop.
Yeah.
All right, when a
Okay.
dinosaur takes a dump, and that dump gets preserved as a fossil, yeah, that's called a coprolite.
I know what it is. It's really good.
Yeah, I've never studied them. I've seen them, but I've never studied.
Do you see the poop?
I tell you what, that's not the only kind of poop that geologists study. There's a lot of rocks that are basically just made up of the poop of lots of little
But
organisms.
how can you find a poop? It's a poop. It looks like a sand.
Yeah,
You
well,
want
it
to-
looks, you know what a modern day poop looks like? The fossil ones look pretty much the same.
I got a picture.
They don't
Really?
smell as bad though.
Okay, so they have to put them in museums. This
very often
cover
they
light.
do end up there. Yes.
Yeah. You have a lot of dinosaurs in America.
Excuse me.
You have a lot of skulls of dinosaurs,
Yes. Yes, we've got a number of
skeletons.
skeletons. I think some of the first were actually discovered here in New Jersey, where I grew up. Has one of the oldest dinosaur discoveries, and then Europe has a bunch. But yeah, the Western U.S. has a lot of dinosaur buried beds. So yes.
Why, when you discover the skeleton, they have to use very sensitive equipment, and they have to be very careful with holding them. I mean, they're really strong.
Well, in fact, it depends on what area you're talking about of discovery, because in the early days, they used to blast these things out with dynamite. They didn't pay a whole lot of attention to being careful. It kind of depends on how careful you're being about preserving the other evidence along with the dinosaur. A lot of barn excavations, and even some older ones that were doing good science, will actually go in there and very carefully pick around the dinosaur and make sure they get just the bones, but also the rocks around the bones, which tell you a lot more about where the dinosaur came from.
Sir!
Yes. Oh my God! What's that? He's really excited. Well, how did he get excited? About?
Look at this.
It's just excitable. Yes. That would be a big pile of poop, all right.
That's not a poop. That looks like an ice cream or something.
Sand.
What is that?
Yeah,
Sand.
but it's an interesting sand castle.
Yeah. So, what's does the dinosaur poop could be that big?
The ones that I've seen are not that big, but they are certainly larger than a normal human would be. I mean, it's proportional to the size of the animal. So, if you think of the size of dung that an elephant leaves behind, that might be similar to the size that you would get for a dinosaur.
So I have very good question right now.
Okay.
Is it you're the people who studies the humans' history? You're the one who sees the evolution, if it was correct or not. You're the one who brought that theory.
Sure. There's a branch of geology that looks at evolution. Definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, evolution, the study of evolution in many ways comes out of geology. It's really, if you go back to Darwin and, his original theory of evolution, he really would not have been able to propose that if he didn't have an appreciation of the time spans that the geologic record allows. There's some connection there. Yeah.
Hey, do you study the geology about fart?
There's really not much geology to study there. Parts tend to disappear in the wind, so they're not really preserved well in the rock record.
Hey, look
Joshua.
Yes.
Joshua, behave yourself, okay? We're gonna kick it out.
Well, he's of a certain...
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, it's okay. But Joshua, really, you ought to try and grow up a little bit in these hangouts, because all of them
Okay,
exactly,
Mom.
because I'm trying to study.
we are recording this, and someday somebody will pull us up and say, wow.
So, Ram,
Yes.
where did the human come from? From what animal?
This
is from the monkey.
Sure. This is, out of Africa is the basic answer. I guess it depends on what types of humans you're referring to. The Homo genus evolved, and the fossil evidence points back toward Africa. But it's not one species came from another. I mean, it's not like humans came from another modern species. We have common lines of descent with some of the other great apes, But again, this is not really my area of expertise, so I'm gonna
Because I heard that some
refer you to
people,
National Geographic on this.
yeah, some people believe that they came from pigs, and others believe that they came from a monkey. From where I studied, they came from a monkey. Like
Well,
gorillas.
the monkeys are definitely closer to us, but I wouldn't say that. I mean, pigs are probably distant related to us, but again, that's comparing two modern versions where the common ancestor is much further back.
Yes, yes, I agree.
So I don't know.
Yeah. So how many years did you study like this geology? Because it's a very big subject. I mean, you need to be
sure.
yeah, it takes a lot of time.
For myself, I did 4 years of undergrad geology. I went to Colgate University for that. I went to Wisconsin for both my master's and my PhD, and between the two of those, that was about 9 years. So that's longer than most people take on that, but it's not completely out of the realm of the.
But only 4 years. You don't have to take freshman.
Well,
I mean, the first year.
4 years of undergrad, and that's that's for the basic bachelor's degree in geology, and then the master's degree was another 2.5 years, and the PhD was more than that. It depends on what kind of a job you want. For me, I wanted a teaching job, and so the PhD was really the degree that I wanted to get. If you're getting a job where you're primarily working, in maybe exploration for oil or something like that, then usually a master's degree is kind of the preferred thing. So there you're talking about 6 or 7 total years of education.
So if one day you decide you want the master's degree, you can go anytime and take it, and then you will be like anybody had the master's degree, and you can discover this.
Usually, the thing about the master's degree in the U.S. is that basically you've got the bachelor's degree is usually you've got a set program of courses, and that will get you many types of entry-level jobs. But the master's degree, you're usually doing a research project. And the master's degree is usually a smaller research project than a PhD would be. But the critical thing about the master's is you're conducting your own research. You're designing a research program. You're publishing that research, and that's usually that's the kind of level that a lot of employers want to have, where they see that you can actually start, work through, and carry a project through to completion.
But I mean, like, I have a question, but it's out of topic. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Why in America their like way of talking is like different language? Like for example, if I talk to you, it will be normal, but when I see Americans talking to each other, I feel I don't understand any of their words. Like the speed of them.
Yeah, that will depend in part on where you're talking to. I mean, there are a lot of different dialects within America. There are definitely some areas where I would probably struggle to even follow them. I know when I first taught at Kentucky, I taught for a year in Western Kentucky, and I had one student who was just very hard for me to understand. He had some drawl, and it was just I had to concentrate real hard to follow him.
Yeah. So it will be even hard for you to like to follow the English accent, the English people.
It's not too bad, This is one of those things where English is the only language really that I've learned, and in just watching television and listening to the radio and that, you hear. Well, I mean, if you don't pay just attention to one network, but you'll hear people with these other accents speaking.
Exactly.
So, it can be a struggle, but the more you hear of it, the more you at least get.
I've been studying and learning this language like for like 7 years right now, and I'm not really good at it. Like I don't even understand. Like when I read the books and stuff, there's a lot of hard.
Well, you know, I think learning any language is a challenge after you're a child because, I mean, I learned a little bit of Spanish in high school, but I could not carry on a conversation in Spanish these days. You know, I could maybe say enough to make myself broadly understood, and I could probably listen to a conversation and get the gist of what somebody is saying, but I couldn't really hold on and carry on a conversation.
Especially in America, you need like a lot of languages. Like all the languages are there. You see Chinese, you see American, you see like different people from like Arabian countries. Everybody's there. French people, Spanish people.
It's a big melting
Especially
pot.
especially the south area of the America. The people from the Latin countries. All of them like very easy to come to America. So I mean, it's, even like for work there, you could have been in a state that's there's like very few Americans. You have some system. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know, there are certainly areas of the country where you've got more of a Hispanic population, or you know, various other ethnic groups too. It's not just Hispanics, but they're certainly one of the largest minority groups. And yeah, there is a lot of Spanish spoken in some parts of the country. There's even parts of the country where there's French spoken up by Quebec. But yeah, on the Vermont, New Hampshire border up by Quebec there's a few areas where there's a little bit of French spoken. But yeah, in the U.S., it's mostly English, and you can get by with English just about anywhere you go. And I mean, we're very fortunate that it has become kind of the global language, or at least in a lot of areas, the global language. So.
But you even have people like they don't even like can read but like write in English.
Yeah, that's probably true. So I see we got a couple of people just joining. I'm actually just about to quit because I've been on.
Okay, great.
But let me just ask if there's two of you that just joined, Mackenzie and Elijah, if either of you have geology questions, feel free to answer them now.
That guy just had a shower, and this girl is just like sleeping.
That's okay. You know, it's a public hangout. We invite anybody to come in.
Yes, welcome people. Do they understand? Do they understand English? LG, do you understand? Can you talk English? Can you talk in English?
What?
Can you talk English?
No.
Do you talk English?
No.
Okay.
You just said no. Okay.
I'm going to wind down because I gotta get dinner myself. So it's been a pleasure speaking to all of you.
Yeah, you too.
And
Ron, add me into your circle, okay? I want to be in your hangouts next time.
I'll be happy to do that. Have yourself a good week. I'll be on again next Monday.
What time you have right now?
Same time, 4 p.m. Central Time U.S. or 2100 GMT.
Okay.
All right.
So it's like
9 p.m. GMT, whatever that is.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. I will,
Nice talking to you too.
thank you very much.
Have a good day. Bye.
Goodbye.